My sister's judgment and lack of support as we face the painful decision to let our son go after years of struggle. You should talk to a therapist. How can she not see my heartbreak? You're giving up on a child. Does she truly think I haven't fought enough? I am a 35-year-old female who has adopted 3 children from foster care. One child in particular exhibits some behavioral issues. For context, we have a daughter aged 7, a son aged 6, and another son aged 4. None of them are biologically related. The 7-year-old and the 4-year-old came to us at birth, while the troubled child, who is 6, arrived at 15 months. Over the past 5 years, we have spent thousands of dollars trying to secure the help and therapy he needs. This is a lengthy account. To those who read and offer advice, I express my gratitude. His therapists believe he suffers from reactive attachment disorder and possible psychopathy, but due to his age, an official diagnosis cannot be made until he turns 18. His biological mother was his primary caregiver, while his biological father would come and go infrequently. Both of his parents struggled with various substance addictions. A welfare check was initiated, during which the police found the parents passed out with drug paraphernalia scattered around them. The boy was discovered in his crib, surrounded by piles of trash, toys, clothes, tools, and other debris. The therapist suggests that he has a complicated relationship with the mother figure, given that neglect was a significant aspect of his early life. He arrived at our home at 15 months old, and we quickly noticed concerning behaviors. From the start, he exhibited aggression and rage. I remember a time when he was 2 years old and I sat crying on the bathroom floor with a black eye and a bleeding lip due to his actions. I recall feeling that when I woke up the next day, it would be the same torturous cycle, with him trying to hurt me daily. After him, we had another placement and were in the process of adopting a girl who had lived with us prior. We also had 3 other placements that came and went without significant issues. The 4-year-old who came to us at 8 days old was mostly nonverbal for the first 3.5 years, and we were uncertain whether he was on the autism spectrum or delayed due to being born dependent on substances. I will summarize the most concerning events to keep this lengthy account manageable. Anyone who knows me would describe me as emotionally drained, nurturing, caring, and undoubtedly sensitive. We have 5 pets who are my beloved companions, and I cherish them deeply. People often say the most devastating thing they could do to me would be to harm my children or animals. I mention this to emphasize that our children are aware of this without a doubt. One day, while folding laundry, I noticed the 6-year-old, whom I will refer to as Jay, standing over our cat. The cat was flicking its tail with its eyes closed, basking in a pool of sunlight on the floor. Trigger warning: an animal is harmed in this account. I am crying as I relive this moment. At this point, Jay had never harmed an animal, but he had lifted his leg over the cat and appeared to be preparing to stomp down. From my position, I firmly said, "Do not dare, we do not hurt animals." I did not shout, but I spoke sternly and seriously as I meant it. He paused and slowly turned towards me, revealing a little grin. I was taken aback by the smirk, but I felt relieved when he put his foot down. It is important to note that our house has an open floor plan, so although we were not directly next to each other, I could see him. That is when he bent down, grasped the cat around its neck, and began strangling it. It sounds surreal, but the cat did not move or fight back. I admit I may not have handled the situation correctly. I immediately started screaming and sprinting through the house towards him. I was crying and yelling in tears for him to let the cat go, to put it down, to stop expressing all those things. When I reached him and forced him to release the cat, it fell limp on the floor. I sank to my knees beside it, sobbing uncontrollably when I heard Jay begin to laugh. The good news is the cat survived. This incident occurred in addition to his harming our youngest son, who was 4 and nonverbal at that time. I will refer to him as Silas from this point onward. I am uncertain whether Jay targeted Silas because he was smaller and nonverbal, making it impossible for Silas to communicate what was happening to him, or if it was due to jealousy of the child who came after him, requiring him to share attention. What I do know is that our oldest child, our daughter, whom I will refer to as Emma, has generally been left alone as a target. Despite being only 10 months apart, she is much bigger than Jay and has an easygoing personality. When they play, if Jay desires a toy, Emma readily hands it to him every time. She willingly allows him to have his way, take new toys, and basically obtain what he wants, which is not the case with Silas. I would say Jay demonstrates a delay in maturity, and he is at a similar developmental level as Silas. They enjoy the same toys and hobbies. Rather than bonding them, it has resulted in constant conflict. Silas fights back and does not concede to Jay's demands. As they have grown older and larger, Jay has physically assaulted his brother, seriously injuring him. He has pushed Silas down our staircase onto a concrete surface, struck him in the face with a rubber mallet, causing substantial bruising, among other incidents. Throughout this time, Jay has seen multiple therapists and various doctors who have desperately tried to find answers or solutions. Once, we discovered Jay standing over Silas in his room at about 3 a.m. while Silas was asleep. That day, we moved their bedrooms to separate floors. My husband, who is 35 years old, has not slept in our shared room for over 2 years. Finding time for intimacy has become impossible. We have both been uninterested in that aspect for over 5 months due to the stress of this situation, which has left us in torment. We ultimately decided to install heavy, loud gates at the top and bottom of our staircase and moved Emma to share a room with me. We attempted to transition Silas to my room. However, he was accustomed to sleeping alone and found our presence too distracting, preventing him from sleeping. We invested thousands of dollars in security cameras and installed them throughout the house. I started setting alarms on my phone every hour of every night to monitor them. This has persisted for years, depriving me of deep sleep because of the constant alerts. However, it paid off. We caught him a second time at approximately 4 a.m. in Silas's room, standing over him. At that point, my husband moved from the couch and placed a mattress at the top of the stairs as an additional safety measure that Jay would need to sneak past. We installed door alarms and bells. We took every precaution. During this time, Jay continued to see a specialist at least once a week, and we were attempting everything imaginable. We even paid out of pocket for bonding therapy for him and me, as I was identified as his primary trigger, hoping it would facilitate progress. Instead, it further solidified my bond with him, but did little to change his perception of me. He appears to struggle with forming secure attachments. Since we were still registered as a foster home, officials conducted monthly check-ins and obtained reports on his progress. The doctors, state officials, school representatives, and we worked collaboratively to try different methods to see if anything would help. Meanwhile, our home had transformed into an absolute prison, with me as the warden for the majority of the time while my husband worked. At the time, I was teaching preschool and everything was a nightmare. Every moment was spent observing Jay, ensuring I knew exactly where he was and where Silas and each pet were at all times, as I monitored the cameras nonstop every second he was not beside me. That is when my parents suggested I consult a pet psychic. They had utilized such services before and found them beneficial. For fun and curiosity, I decided to give it a try. I cherish my pets and wanted to ensure their safety, confirming that nothing was happening that I was unaware of. This psychic operated from another state and conducted a video chat session with me. She informed me that my female cat needed to communicate something to me. The psychic said that I would find something on the window ledge in Jay's room, tucked inside a folded shirt that I needed to take. I chuckled and said okay, then proceeded to walk to his room. My cat genuinely led me to his room. When I entered, I discovered a knife hidden inside the folded shirt. With the help of his therapists, we questioned him about it. He admitted he felt angry when he took it, and when asked what he intended to do with it, he stated he wanted to hurt people. Specifically, he expressed a desire to use it on Silas. He was subsequently admitted to a children's hospital facility. They started him on medication and sent him home after 8 days. During his stay, we were unable to call or visit him as they wanted him to focus on adjusting first. On the 7th day, we were finally informed that we could call and speak with him. He was 5 years old at the time. When we spoke, our conversation went as follows. Us, hey buddy, we miss you. Are you doing okay? Jay, yeah, he answered cheerfully. Us, are you ready to come home? We are anxious to see you. Jay, no, I want to stay a while longer. They let me eat whatever I want and watch TV whenever I like. While I maintained a shaky voice, attempting to hold back tears, feeling overwhelmed by the situation, there was Jay at just 5 years old, with essentially zero ties to us if our other 2 children were placed in a similar cold environment filled with large machines, loud sounds, and without anyone they recognized around them, they would have begged, no, please don't leave me. Silas would have cried out, reached for us, or fought to leave with us. After 7 days, upon hearing our voices on the phone, they would have cried. Emma would have asked to come home, filled with tears, yet when Jay dropped Silas off with his backpack, he displayed no care at all. I found myself crying, my husband was emotional too, and Jay cheerfully asked, did you pack my new pajamas? That was his only concern. The same attitude prevailed upon his return. We had prepared cards and drawings to welcome him back, but he ignored us and walked inside, acting as though it were just another day. Meanwhile, I was physically ill from stress, vomiting with worry. What if he is bullied by another child? What if he learns a new but frightening behavior? Would he grow resentful towards us? Would he cry every day and every night? What if an adult attempted to abuse him physically or sexually? My worries engulfed me. In just over a year, I lost more than 65 pounds due to this situation, feeling as though my efforts were futile. I became obsessed with finding ways to address his challenges. Every dollar and every moment of my free time was dedicated solely to Jay. I felt an overwhelming guilt regarding Emma and Silas, who weren't receiving their fair share of our attention. When they did receive our focus, we were hollow, broken, and sorrowful. Silas was receiving speech therapy and other support, but he could have significantly benefited from additional resources. However, every free day from teaching preschool or any vacation my husband took had to be allocated to Jay, the priority. Even with the cameras and locks on absolutely everything, we still couldn't ensure everyone's safety. One day, I put Jay in timeout, turned around, and felt a sting on my leg. He had stabbed me with a small screwdriver he had discovered in a board game box. It had been included for the battery door. I regretfully had not thought to check the board games for sharp objects. Then we encountered another major incident. These events have occurred over several years and appear more alarming when compiled together. I want to emphasize that Jay struggles with significant issues, however he possesses a sweet side as well. He simply chooses to allow the dark side to take precedence more frequently. His smile is captivating and his laughter is endearing. He has a dry, witty sense of humor. He is a funny little guy. Please be respectful in your comments about him as best as you can. In fact, his therapist has noted that he has behind-the-scenes masks that he has perfected for interactions outside the home. In front of everyone else, he appears flawless. It took years for this mask to slip even in front of my parents. I was genuinely grateful when it did. I required my parents' support, and their observations made it easier for me to discuss matters with them without feeling insane. Returning to the significant event I previously mentioned, my husband bathed the two boys in the guest bathroom while I bathed Emma in our master bathroom. After Jay was taken out and dried off, he informed my husband that he had forgotten to retrieve clean underwear. The bathroom is conveniently located adjacent to the room where we keep his clothes. I acknowledged that my husband was mentally exhausted, stressed, tired, and overwhelmed, but he told Jay he would grab the underwear and instructed him to follow. They both entered the bedroom together and my husband collected the underwear. That was when everything fell apart. We heard water splashing and screams coming from Sila's. We collided at the bathroom door, which had since been closed. When I inquired about Jay, my husband replied he was with me. We burst through the door only to discover that the lights were turned off. I flipped them on and found Jay hovering over Sila's, who was soaked again. Jay was retracting his hands. Silas then sat up, with red marks around his chest and neck and water pouring from his nose and mouth. I firmly believe he had held Silas under the water. I do not care that he was only 5 at the time. He had been turning the lights off, thinking the new security cameras would not catch him in the dark. We had explained to him that the cameras were still functional in low light, but he persisted with this tactic. We also refrained from disclosing the locations of the cameras to him for safety reasons. He would throw items over them, position them backwards, you name it. We do not have cameras in our bathrooms and do not intend to for privacy reasons. Additionally, Silas could not use his voice to tell us what had happened. When we asked Jay, he claimed he had gotten lost. We will never know the truth of what transpired. Another day, he attempted to throw the blow dryer into the bathtub while someone was bathing, after having learned at school that it could electrocute a person. I admit I am uncertain if he is a true psychopath or if he engages in these behaviors simply for attention. All I am aware of is that we have run out of time on our end trying to help him find the answers he desperately needs. I began confiding in my family about our struggles and the necessity for him to leave our home. My family has been supportive with the exception of 2 members. They comprehend the gravity of our situation, but believe it is in his best interest to separate. Silas had begun to cry when the lights were turned off. They had a movie day at school, and with the lights out, he experienced a mild panic attack, believing that the lights shutting off indicated Jay would become hostile. My sister and her family disagree, arguing that we are abandoning a child. Although we struggled to pull the trigger on this decision, believing that more love, new doctors, medication, and prayer might trigger some revelation, we found ourselves meeting dead ends in terms of placement options. Since he was legally adopted, they could not remove him as a foster child without affecting our other children. I inquired about drop-off services, such as a fire station, and was advised that we would forfeit our rights, which would result in our other 2 children being placed into care as well. Although many mental health facilities advertise taking young kids, when you call, you find they often only offer week-to-week stays without long-term placements. Insurance will not cover consecutive admissions. Some facilities are open for treatment, but demand exorbitant fees and insurance will not assist. During one of our monthly check-ins from the state, while still technically a foster home, although we stopped accepting new placements, our children recognized her from our visits throughout their lives. They sensed our anxiety as we prepared for her arrival. Jay chose to run and jump on Silas, slamming his head into the floor. After that incident, the officials informed us that we had exhausted all options and that it was unsafe for them to remain under the same roof. We had to separate the children or risk having our other 2 kids placed into care. We were officially out of time. I moved in with my parents, taking the 2 younger children while my husband stayed behind with Jay in our house. They even conducted unannounced visits at school, pulling the children from class to ask them where they were living. Thankfully, we had already moved apart and the children were honest. They allowed us to return home but mandated that we actively seek placement for Jay. However, they were unable to assist us or provide lids. By this point, all family members had been informed of our distressing situation. He had to leave or we risked losing everything and everyone. Even with this additional context, my sister opted not to attend Thanksgiving because her daughter was experiencing a difficult preteen phase. She expressed that seeing our family might trigger her to harm herself since she couldn't comprehend how we could give up on a child. That stung, but she ultimately apologized for what she deemed a misunderstanding. I genuinely cherish my sister and did not want to sever our connection. Therefore, we made amends. Although she pretended to understand, I felt unsupported by someone so close to me. Fast forward to finally obtaining the right information from a lawyer and creating a path for Jay's future. We submitted an application to an agency representing a couple with no children, willing to adopt him. The prospective adoptive mother has credentials and expertise in childhood trauma and has experience with troubled children. They have received all necessary information from every doctor and therapist, as well as his shoe size, and they are well informed and excited, seeming like a good match. They possess the financial resources to provide Jay with what he may require. My husband and I finally see a glimmer of hope at the end of the tunnel, yet we are also grieving and heartbroken. It leaves us utterly devastated. We are left without words. We feel as though we have failed. There is not a single term that can be used to describe us in the comments that we have not already tortured ourselves with. Only my family and his family are aware of our predicament. Therefore, I asked my siblings in a group chat if I could discuss the adoptive couple with them, hoping that potentially I had overlooked something. I believed I now had my sister's support and that the previous misunderstanding had been resolved. My brother texted me separately. I wasn't sure how comfortable Tara name changed, would be discussing some matters regarding Jay, so I chose to reach out to you directly to chat more. I replied with the couple's application and he assisted me when I needed it. We discussed any concerns and it was beneficial. Notably, my sister opted not to respond at all. I chose to assume she simply had not seen it. While I was speaking with my parents about their thoughts on the couple I mentioned, I texted brother and sister, but she didn't respond at all. They confirmed yes, she told us. She didn't want to reply because she didn't know what to say without upsetting you. That was all there was to it. The miscommunication that occurred wasn't a miscommunication at all. She has chosen not to support us at this time, which is her prerogative. I feel that gives us the right to distance ourselves from her. Coupled with my brother's need to offer support through a private text to me rather than in the group chat felt inappropriate. This was our situation, yet I sense she managed to make it about her children, her family, and her feelings when it wasn't. She feels sad. What does she think we feel? Despite her stating that she did nothing wrong, the entire family is aware of her position for a reason. She has been openly negative and disrespectful towards us throughout this ordeal, even suggesting that she would let her other two children be taken away for behaviors they haven't displayed in order to keep the troubled child who dislikes me regardless of our efforts. In fact, we told our children when we explained that Jay had to leave, how we had no options left. We clarified that none of them could adopt him since they already had children. The judge would not approve an adoption from someone who did not have a successful track record. They lacked the necessary training and experiences needed to proceed. Moreover, I explained to them that my husband and I would not be seeing them again or attending holidays. We would put the past behind us and strive to find peace. The thought of attending each holiday while staring into his little face was something we could not bear. I emphasized that it would be traumatic for the siblings to observe him coming and going like that. My brother empathized with Jay but acknowledged the necessity of our decision. My sister asked if it would be worth it for her to adopt him afterward, only to twist the knife deeper into my heart. She also asserted that my brother did not intend for me to perceive it the way I did, which I find bewildering. There was no room for misinterpretation. His words speak for themselves. As a 40-year-old woman, she has made her stance abundantly clear, and she has not only affected me but has also deterred the family from supporting me in our sibling group chat. That indicates that she has mishandled the situation. Period. She texted me inquiring whether she had upset me since I was distant. I answered affirmatively that her stance was apparent where her support for us was concerned. I suspect she is aware that her actions could inflict emotional pain, and she chose to execute them anyway. She maintained that she hadn't done anything wrong, to which I strongly disagreed. She advised me to see a therapist instead of consulting them. I believe this matter is significant enough for me to warrant seeking input from my siblings. After all, I was not asking advice from strangers, they are family. I noted that despite her being a therapist herself, she seems oblivious to her own words and actions. In response, she pointed out that as someone who stays at home and does not work, I should not discuss someone else's career. Ironically, I have a child at home half the day, 4 days a week, and every Friday. I doubt she would find suitable employment under those circumstances. Additionally, I have endured 2 kidney transplants, ovarian cancer, and take immunosuppressants each day, making it difficult to maintain employment without risking my health. 18 years ago, she generously donated a kidney to me, so this entire situation has been exceptionally painful. The whole conversation became contentious, and I decided to move on from it, feeling sorrowful about her missing out on Jay's departure after over 5 years. She will not know where he ends up or who he is with, and I feel indifferent. Regarding her feelings, I explained to her that while she is entitled to them, we are not obligated to accept them. In truth, I am profoundly hurt. Explained to Jay, showing him pictures that he would be leaving. He shrugged and expressed indifference, stating that he understood but did not care. I suppose I simply wonder if my reaction is an overreaction. I feel as though she has witnessed me deteriorate into a broken shell over time. She has observed us striving tirelessly. This situation is not something to be treated lightly. Am I overreacting? I am uncertain about the real question I have. I needed to formulate one to post, though. Is her perspective on our situation valid? Perhaps that is what pains me the most. I feel as though if the roles were reversed, she would never relinquish custody of two of her children to the state, yet she continues to judge us harshly. In summary, my husband, age 35, and I, age 35, are faced with the difficult decision of having to allow our adopted child to leave, and I feel hurt and distant due to my sister's lack of support. I am wondering if my feelings are an overreaction.